when I was there 3 years ago, I trained two of our programs to a group of between 5 and 8 people, depending on which day. And those are individuals who've already been exposed to a set curriculum. And that curriculum has a lot of different elements within each of those that can be repositioned as a 1-hour webinar. And you already have some great people. One of them happens to be married to Carrie. The other one, Lauren, and some other people who can do that. I'm happy to do a refresher at the most minimum to get them up to speed and consult with you on how you can position those to support that out, because they're not topical, they're skills based, they're conversational, and we've developed even more since then. So at the barest minimum, you know, that wouldn't be a large investment. It would just require bringing everybody together for a couple hours here, a couple hours there, and maybe helping you with evaluation or whatever. So that's one way to go. The content on those are available to you. Carrie has the decks, but also the book Raw Coping Power, which I highly recommend you read and do the work in as by yourself, but as a team. That the 30 tools in the Raw Coping Power book are kind of like a self-help, but also can be used. I've trained people in individual and group coaching with that. Those tools are also now available as independent PDFs, so you could actually do a whole hour walking people through, let's do the Thrive map, let's do the set point activity, let's do this and discuss. And so we have that available now in simple PDFs that you can send out. The health consciousness and the whole purpose of that training in a nutshell is transforming one's attitudes towards stress so that it becomes more of a potential for growth and not succumbing to stress. So resilience is a pathway toward thriving. And we use the metaphor that resilience could either be the launching pad for thriving or the landing pad for trauma. So would you rather have, a landing pad or a launching pad, right? And the other thing we say, who wants to keep bouncing back from life? You know, can we just get some forward momentum here, right? So the whole point of that work is to create this positive mindset, growth mindset. And as an evidence-based program, it does have that potential as long as there are other people who you're going through this with, and ideally on an ongoing basis, like a group, you know. So that's the first one. The second one, the empowered health consciousness, which both, you know, Carrie knows this, is more about just that. What does it mean to be healthy? Am I staying on top of my health? Am I staying on top of those triggers that cause me to relapse when, like, oh my God, last night the chocolate cookie dough oatmeal bar that I brought home. I'm still like, there's still some down there. Anyway, you know, I'm using that as a small example, but it could be whatever the trigger or relapse is, ranging from that to pornography, to cocaine, to opioids, right? But that's what it's about. It's not about substance abuse, neither is the resilience one. It's more about primary prevention, protective factors, positive psychology, health and well-being, right? So you already have that. I could definitely refresh you on that. What I was sharing with Carrie was another way to go about doing that is in the context of these discovery groups or focus groups, where you go to the student population, you go to stakeholders, you say to them, you know, we want to keep doing these webinars for you, but let's take a step back and see what you really are needing and interested in, because maybe we can build an ambassador model where it's not just us doing this, but other students are doing it. But before we do that, let's see if that's something you even want to do. So what you do there is you do an hour and a half focus group. You could do virtual, and we train you how to, we would do some of those for you, and then you would start doing the others. And you would ask them, what are the stressors that you're facing? Same thing we always do, right? What are the risks you're facing? What are your goals? What are your aspirations in a group setting? And then you ask them in the middle of it, you show them one of the resilience modules or a health consciousness activity. And you say to them, thanks for telling us that. We have some things we want to show you that we think could help with that. Then you switch from focus group to delivery of a 30-minute piece. And you collect pre and post data. So you actually are killing two birds with one stone, or as I prefer to say, growing a beautiful set of flowers with one seed. Right then, that is such a beautiful name. All right, so, okay, are we good? So
yes, we're good.
So that's the next level, which is training you on how to do those and getting Lauren Sisler to do all of them.
Yeah.
I really love the idea of like training other students and having them do it. I'm hoping we can be in person with the students more. I feel like it'd be easier to like recruit students to do that, but then it like runs itself and it's more sustainable.
Yeah, so the reason we do the focus groups as a way toward that is you're starting the process of capacity building. So being a SPF, the capacity building phase where you run focus groups, and at the end of the group, you say, who here might be interested in potentially following up? So you start building a potential cadre, and then you come back to them later, conduct a survey. Are you still interested? Because in this population, you never know. So you try to do, if you can, who knows, 20 groups with 8-10 people each, got a group of 200. Every once in a while, you say here's what we're learning, and you're building capacity. And then you also do some other type of stakeholder interviews with key personnel in the counseling department at the school, or people who are running drug and alcohol, or the coaches, the athletics, whatever, right? So you're getting everybody on board and letting them know that you're going to be building a program based on their input. And while you're building it, you're still doing these mini interventions, right? So you're able to show SAMHSA that you've met some quota. And the truth is, if you had to convince them, this is the program. Our original team awareness program, which spawned the resilience and spawned health consciousness, was an adapted program. It was inherently built based on focus groups and stakeholder interviews. So it's part of the evidence-based intervention. And I can send you all the papers and work on that. So that at the end of the next phase, so the first phase is the discovery phase. The second phase is the adaptation phase, where you go back and you go and say to all of those ambassadors who said they're interested, are you available? And you start picking out those people who you think might be the ambassadors. And then you run somewhere in between a pilot, right? Like, here's what we're thinking. And you get their feedback and their buy-in, because what you're telling them is, this is a program that's built for you and by you, right? This is the college's program. And if you're doing it, not that you're doing it right, but if all the conditions are working and you're being strategic and you've got the right people, then it has a greater chance of sustainability, right? On top of all of that, right, if you want us to, we do evaluation, or we support your evaluator, right? So there are different stages of evaluation there. So that's it. I mean, there's, like I said, the light version is just getting people back up to speed. the more advanced, the next level would be doing a couple of focus groups. The next level would be setting you up to do the focus groups, right? So you keep going. The next level would be collecting all the data after you've done all the focus groups and then going back and piloting, right? So we can work at any one of those levels as long as I get to come there and only have Art eat vegetarian food.
You a vegetarian?
We took him to Jim and Nick's the last time he was here, not knowing he was vegetarian. So that was not good. But you know, you come to Birmingham, you have to go to eat barbecue. I mean, you know, come on.
Well, no, we have, I don't know if Art's told you, I said, we're gonna go camping and all we're gonna do is eat baked beans out of a can.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so if you recruit these students, do you then train them and let them do some training?
That's the next level. So
Okay.
that pilot, if it's going well, right? I mean, or you build it in,
Yeah.
you say, well, now who in this group wants to be an ambassador and trainer, right? So it's graduated. Now I'm kind of painting it out as a long expanded thing, which ideally you're wanting to do depending on your length of the sprint, because you know, without the capacity building, yeah, you're not going to get the right momentum and people.
Yeah.
So then you would have that, and we would work around parameters around what's the easiest, simplest thing, right?
Yeah.
So you could go right to a train the trainer quickly with what we already have. So there's flexibility in that. The good thing is that you already have people trained, right? You already have some familiarity. You've done some of this work. Yeah, so yes, you would, and then that curriculum, we would work with you to manualize, even though it may actually build upon what we already have, so that you have ongoing support, you know, they can continue to use that manual.
Yeah. Okay.
The other key piece in all of this, which Carrie knows, is that is destigmatizing and building access to a referral resource. So that in building this, it's like if it's the student counseling center or
There is none.
or whatever local 12-step or whatever it is, right? That's an important thread throughout all of this, because it's primary prevention, but it's also early intervention and referral. And so we received $1 million from NIAAA to build an SPERT, a technological version of SPERT, which we also have, which we can share with you. And that's something that could also be adapted. That's a little bit more of a cost, but it's there, we have it. So it's sort of like taking everything we're doing that I just described, and if you want it, there's layering in SPERT, but there's also layering in peer support and peer referral. So those are what we can help you with if that's what you want, right?
Yeah. And they're also doing something that I had not heard of before, and they're using peer support specialists in workplaces to they're educating on, you know, getting people in long-term recovery hired. And Joe, I may mess this up, so correct me, I'm saying this wrong, but they're using peer support specialists in workplaces, teaching them how to help people coming out of recovery, out of treatment, and getting back into the workforce, kind of as a workforce mentor.
Yeah, can you let me, I'll show you my screen if.
Yeah.
So this is out of New York, and I'm not doing that part, but I'm working with these people, so I can share with you who they are, and I can help make a referral for you if you want. This is New York Peer Specialists, right? So this is a whole initiative out of New York with certification and training. And you can see here, you know, in support of New York State's efforts to stop the spread, to reduce the risk posed by COVID, right? And so this is one of the ways this is happening. So there's the promoting recovery through peer support. You know, so there's groups out there that are doing this in New York.
That's so cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's amazing.
So there's a whole, this is I think broader, it's beyond New York. And you have to decide whether or not it's relevant or how it could be adapted, right? So it's New York State Office of Mental Health. So that's over and above everything we just talked about, but
Yeah, just interesting for us. I told him, you know, since that's happening in New York, it'll be here in about 8 years or so. You know, we're usually 8 or 10 years behind you guys.
Yeah, and then I'll never get to Texas. And not only that, if it tries to get into Florida, they'll stop it at the border.
Yes, of course. Okay, Raven, questions?
No, that's a lot to think.
Yeah.
I have a lot of ideas just when I thought I couldn't have any more.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna definitely bring this up to Liesl, our advisory board member,
Okay.
and see what she thinks.
Okay.
It looks like they're trying to, like, since we're from the outside coming in, build some kind of system.
Yeah.
And they're hiring, she's on a board to hire, they're hoping to hire one social worker for all 4 campuses.
Yeah.
So maybe we can do something big instead of small.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to, what else do you need? I mean, since we're here, what else do you want to talk about?
So how would I, like, introduce this to Jeff State, like our contacts there that's on our advisory board? Like,
Well,
do
you can take, I mean, you're recording this, so I'll kind of give you some verbiage and then you can translate it, or I think I mean, this is assuming you have the bandwidth and the budget, right? You would say, we want to create a program that will be your own and that will be sustainable after the grant is done. And we want it to have your branding, and we want it to have your input. And most importantly, we want to do it in a way that empowers the students and their own voice. So that's the first part. The second part is that the reason we want to do this is that a large part of prevention and student mental well-being involves appealing to their own strengths, their own self-efficacy, their own creativity, and also appealing to their own sense of caring for each other. Instead of us coming in with an off-the-shelf program, if we help the students get engaged in shaping the program, we can appeal to those things, their self-efficacy, sense of community, positive mental health striving, and resilience, right? So we have a method, so that's the second thing. So the third thing is, what's our methodology? So we say we like to build the program from the inside out with your input. We do have curriculum, but the curriculum is agile and can be adapted based on the students' input. So our methodology is designed to get their input, and in ways that really speaks to them. And so we do a lot of listening. How do we do that? We use 3 tools. We can use one or all 3. One of our tools is what we call a discovery group, where we sit down with a group of anywhere between 8 to 10 students. If we can do it in person, there's usually pizza involved. If we don't do it in person, then we do some rock.
There's Amazon gift cards.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Text them to you.
And it's semi-structured, we explain to them what this is about and that their voice matters and that their vision matters, and that's facilitated. That's one way. The other way we do it is with stakeholder interviews. Let's say there's head of some kind of association or some student advocacy group. So instead of doing it as a group, you may want to appeal to that one person and get their input, right? That's another way we do it. And a third way we do it, and again, as I said, these are optional, all of these, is a survey. And so we take all of that information as part of our methodology, and we go back and we say, this is what you told us, right? Is this still true? And we compile that, and we put together a set of recommendations that are really your recommendations, and you sign off on it. And you say, yep, that's it. That's what we want to do. Of course, all along the line, we're also giving tools out, like I said, right? And then we begin the process of building it based on the recommendations with your group. In your case, we're very interested in a peer support or student ambassador program. And so a large part of what we're going to be doing from the beginning is asking about that and asking amongst those stakeholders and focus groups who might be interested in participating in that, especially if you can get them as sophomores or juniors, right? Depending, I don't know what the structure is there.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then you say, we'll build it, we'll do the training, we'll do a train the trainer, you'll have the manual, we'll figure out what you want to call it. And we're here to support you. We're also going to evaluate it in the short term and help you promote it. If there's a funding, help you build a web page or Facebook group or whatever social media pieces are going to come in that. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but we have a good idea of what some of the core things are. And we know that peer support and resilience and health consciousness and being willing to set healthy boundaries, the basic things are going to be probably a part of it. Learning how to say no, whatever, you put in there.
And then basically at the end of it, let's just say everything works beautifully, you end up having a program that is rolling there that they can continue to offer to students.
Yeah. Yeah, now this is the key, that the interviews and the focus groups are going to be very strongly emphasizing asking the question, what will make this work? How will this succeed? How do we know it's not going to die in a year? What would you say we do to keep it going? And you'll learn things from that might require innovation, right? A lot of times students these days will say, oh, you need to have an Instagram account, or you need to make it online, and you'll say, okay, well, who's going to manage that? And so you see where I'm going. It's like, but those are the things that become interesting, and you never know. You might have somebody who's like a real champion, and that'll make a big difference, right?
Yeah.
It sounds a lot like what we do with our in focus groups, but it'll be like a college version of it.
Yeah. in high school.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Thank you, Joel,
Thank you.
for giving us your 1 hour that you had free this week.
We still have, don't we have some time left? or-
I've got another call at 3 that I need to get some
Oh,
stuff
okay.
ready for. So
Well, let me know, is there anything else you need now, or are we
I
good?
think that's good. I think that's enough. That's a lot.
Okay, you have it recorded.
Yes, thank you.
I'm glad to meet you.
Okay, and
Yeah.
we'll be back in touch. Thank you, Joel.
Bye.
Bye.